that in the next little Nepalese village, they were arrested and detained by the Nepalese police. They're in jail. And we still, like, to this day, don't know why. Like, whether, like, wearing matching lycra outfits is illegal there, we don't know. They're in jail. And this Finnish team that was an hour and a half behind everybody at that point just tiptoed through the cluster and won the race. Total meltdown. You guys have had days like that? But my buddy Keith was right when he said, you know, people aren't going to judge us by whether we cross the finish line first. They're going to judge us by what we tried to do. And he was right. After all that, we were fourth place. And when they announced us in fourth place at the awards ceremony, all the other racers like stood on the tables and cheered and pointed and symbolically gave us the win. And then for the Finns that won, there was this very polite golf clapping. And then Sylvain had to end the ceremony early because he had to go get his buddies out of jail. Crazy. So there's always great different ways to deal with challenge, change, and adversity, right? All the positive action stuff we talked about, but sometimes you don't want to hit the fan and the fan's on super high speed. And in those moments, the best way that we can inspire ourselves and our teammates to a finish line is to do what? Laugh. Laugh at how ludicrous and stupid and sideways it all is. That's exactly what these next guys did. You'll love this little clip.
If a racer drops out, the team is disqualified. The remaining members sometimes form a temporary team so they can continue on the expedition.
We've now got a team of UK and a team of US. We've got half and half. It's the only team now with mixed nationalities in the whole race. US, so US and UK is you suck and we suck.
I speak a little bit of English, but I've done a little bit of translation between Dave and the Brits.
I'm sitting on the front of the boat and I say, Dave, you need to go right. What? He needs to go through 3 translations. Back to the boat and back down the boat.
Still pretty far apart on a lot of issues.
Yes, well, it's like having a flea in your ear most of the time. But they're behind us, so we're used to that.
They're a witty bunch. Stuck on the move.
The attitude is the same for all 4 of us. There was a serious level of humour. Tired, sleepy.
Sure.
In the Eco Challenge, the pain is notorious. A lot of it's physical, even more of it's mental. Pain is mandatory and suffering is optional.
The race is 320 miles long. You can't change that. But to have good people around you and to have fun doing it, that's what it's all about. Enjoying it and laughing and getting through it.
Isn't that the best? You guys think they finished?
Yes.
Hell yeah, they finished. Yeah, and they even came back to race together the next year because they had so much fun. My favorite part of that I think about all the time, and now you guys will too. Pain is mandatory. Suffering is optional. Right? They just decided not to suffer and literally laughed their way all the way to the finish line. Right? The next essential element that creates this extreme performance and why winners win is because they're we thinkers versus me thinkers. A we thinker is the kind of person that walks out their front door every single day, and I know all you guys do this, and you say, you know what, there's a world full of teammates for me out there. Not a world full of people I have to get over, around, and through to accomplish my goals before the end of the day. Because you guys know this, the greater your goal, the less likely it is something you can accomplish by sheer force of individual will. You know, it genuinely takes surrounding yourself with other great people that maybe have strengths that you don't have, and together you capitalize on each other's strengths on your way to that finish line. Now, I carried the bag, meaning I sold pharmaceuticals, for about 7 years before I turned in my pantyhose and heels for some firefighting gear. But in that sales arena is where I learned something really, really valuable. I was selling for about 7 years, and I happened to notice that there was one guy who was #1 every single year. And it drove me bananas. Because this guy, Steve, he was out of the Utah district, at the end of every week, he would send out an email to the entire sales force talking about something that he learned, or a study he used, or something that worked for him, or a way he got into a hospital system, or something that a doctor told him about our products. And I couldn't believe he was always sending out his best stuff, because at the end of the year, we were all stacked against each other. Just like in most sales organizations, you have a hierarchy of who's #1 and on down. And I couldn't believe why was he #1 every single year, but at the end of every week, he sent out his best stuff. So I asked him at a meeting why he did it. He said, what do you think happens when I send out an email to all 180 of you guys at the end of every week? I didn't know. He said, I'll get 30 or 40 back. And people share with me what worked for them and something that they learned. They said, if you look on the incentive trip every single year, it's those same 20 or 30 people at the top. And guess who those people are? The people that are in this little circle with me that continue to share our successes all the time. He said, my idea is I don't care if I don't get a response back from the other 100 of you guys. He said, this little circle that we've created, that rising tide raises all of our ships. And I'm not number one despite helping everybody. I'm number one because I help everybody, and they help me. And they created this great little circle of mentorship that elevated all of their ships. When you have that great team around you, it's fun to create a world where you suffer equally. It's also quite effective. Now, this is just a funny term that Robert came up with at the start line of our race in Ecuador. Up until this moment, the way that people raced was everyone carried their own individual weight, their own individual gear, and walked side by side towards the finish line. Just like our common understanding of teamwork, walking side by side towards a common goal. But Robert had a whole different idea of the way we were going to roll. Literally right before the start line, he said, I want you guys to all take all your mandatory gear out of your packs and make one big pile here in the middle. Because this isn't your gear and his gear and her gear. This is our stuff that we have to get to the finish line. And he quickly assessed the course and he assessed our strengths and weaknesses. And it started with a 75-mile run at 14,000 feet. So he took the bulk of the weight and he handed it to the two strongest runners. And he handed me back a water bottle. I'm sitting there with just a water bottle at the start line, nothing else. And I was kind of mortified. I remember looking at the other girls and I said to Robert, hey Robert, can I just wear my empty pack because all the other girls have their packs on? And he said, well, all the other girls aren't going to win this race. We are. And here's how we're going to do it. He said, my idea and how I think we're going to go faster is if from start to finish, everybody on this team suffers equally. He said, think about it, Rob. If you leave the start line with your full pack of mandatory gear, your heart rate is going to be 180. Keith Murray, our strongest runner, his might be 140. If I can find a way to make them both for this first section 160 somehow by giving him more weight and you less, so we're all suffering equally, aren't we going to go a hell of a lot further faster than any other team out here? And as we left the start line, we realized that Robert was absolutely right. He literally stumbled upon how winning really works. That it wasn't about all of us being out there with each other. It was about all of us being out there for each other. And we quickly realized that this world that he created wasn't just like Barney and Fluffy and rainbows and let's hold hands. It wasn't just a nice place to work. It was kick-ass strategy. We started passing teams we had never ever passed before that first day because they had to slow down and wait for their slowest person, and we just simply didn't have the slowest person. So overnight, we took the lead for the first time in a big adventure race. And we were so fired up by this whole suffering equally idea and how well it was working that one of my teammates thought of an even better way to do it the next morning. He said, I can't carry any more weight, but I can tow somebody. So he cut a piece of bungee cord off the back of the netting off of his backpack and made a little tail, which is what you see going on in this shot right there. Guys, that's my buddy Neil Jones towing one of us down the beach a couple of years later in New Zealand. But it was in that race that my buddy said, well, why would we wait for the slowest person if they can just grab onto me and we can take them with us? And it made absolute sense. It was literally in that race that we went from being okay, above average adventure racers that did well in races to being consistently in the top 3 at the World Championships the next 10 years. And it was never because we were better athletes. We were all in our 40s and 50s. We weren't, frankly, that great at athletes. And we didn't even train together. We came from all over the world. We just showed up at start lines and raced together. But while the other teams brought their 5 best adventure racers, we brought our best 5. And again, we didn't succeed despite helping each other. We succeeded because we helped each other. So how does this manifest itself in the real world? Well, in some cases, literally, I actually had a guy write to me a couple months ago and say, saw your presentation, went home, created a tow line, and for the first time, my 10-year-old daughter and I were able to run a 5K together, which I loved and I thought was adorable. And so I wrote back, oh my God, it must have been so nice for her to be able to stay with you. And he writes back in caps, she towed me. So cute. But really, this is the environment that you create as a leader. This is the corporate climate that you create around you as a winner every day. When you create that world where it's not a weakness to ask for help, it's actually a strength on the team for ask to help, and you create that world where you're there for each other and not with each other, and you're constantly finding ways to capitalize on each other's strengths and mitigate each other's weaknesses, there's no finish line that's too far away. And great leaders and winners also seek synergy everywhere, all the time. I'll give you a couple of examples. You guys ever heard of the Ironman triathlon? Why are we triathletes out there? Couple? Cyclists, runners, people who walk around. Alright, the Ironman is this crazy long day. It's a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, 26.2-mile run. Distance is not relevant, aside from a long, stupid day. Alright, and I went back a few years ago to see if I could still pull it off. But as a team person, I was so bored in an individual race. I couldn't stand it. And I realized that all 1,200 people out there in the race hated each other. Everybody wanted to kill each other. And I quickly realized, I don't have to hate everybody out here. I'm only competing against the other girls in the 4 age group. I'm not competing against everybody. And so in the rules of triathlon, you have 20 seconds to open up a 3 bike length gap between you and the person in front of you. So that you're not drafting them. You guys know a little bit about what drafting is? You're getting like sucked along in their slipstream. You save 30% of your energy when you're drafting someone, like right on their wheel. So you're not allowed to do that, or at least back in the day, you can do it now. Back in the day, you couldn't do that in triathlon. So as soon as somebody passed you, you had 20 seconds to open up this 3 bike length gap, which meant that you had to basically back up or slow down. It was really annoying. So this one guy and I kept passing each other. And I finally got this light bulb about how to create a team. And the next time that he went by me, I'm on my aero box and I yelled out, "Hey Mike!" He said, "How do you know my name?" "You wrote it on the back of your shirt, dude." I don't know why I just wrote Mike and big pen on the back of his shirt. Lucky for me, because I said, "Do you want to play the 20-second passing game?" And he said, "Absolutely." And luckily he knew what I was talking about. And for the next 80 miles on that bike course, we created a we in a me world. And here's how we did it. He would pass me, and I would draft him for 16 seconds. And then take the 4 seconds to open up the bike length gap. And then I would immediately pass him, and he would draft me for 16 seconds. We did this over and over and over again, and all the people around us in the race thought we were cheating. So they're calling over the race officials on the motorcycles, and they're timing us, and we're smiling at them because they can't catch us. We're within the rules. And so once all the other racers around us realized that we were like sort of legally drafting each other, they all started drafting each other, all the other racers, and we ruined the whole Ironman. It was so great. But at the end of the day, I had the second fastest bike split, and he had the second fastest bike split in our respective age groups. And it was all that idea of creating a we in a me world. We both went faster together. Now in adventure racing, we take this concept up half a notch. Check out this idea. This looks like 4 people, like one team looking at a map. This is actually my top 2 navigators and the top 2 navigators from our biggest competitors in the race. We're part of the race. Looking at the maps together. This is us and the South Africans in the whole of Africa. Looking at the maps and create a strategy about which way to go next. Why in the world would you do that? To get a gap on the rest of the field, right? By the 3rd day, we had a 12-hour lead on 3rd through 60th place. So that at the finish line, we were going to be 1st or 2nd, right? It just made absolute sense to get together with the other strongest, smartest, fastest people in the race and go exponentially faster together. Which is exactly why you guys are here, right? You're with the other strongest, smartest, fastest, most capable people in Liberty, and when you leave here, you're going to go exponentially faster for having been here. Alright, this game involves grabbing a partner. You don't have to physically grab them, you can note them, note the partner. Unless you've been waiting all morning to grab the person next to you, and this is your big one. Nobody from Human Resources call me. They can't touch each other. Alright, now don't change partners when I tell you the game. Alright, this game, and I will preface it by saying it has nothing to do with strength or the gym or your lats. This game is called reverse arm wrestling. And here's how it's played. When I say 1, 2, 3, go, you're going to get to the official arm wrestling position with your teammate. And when I say go, your goal and your teammate's goal is not to do the standard push the other guy's arm down. Your goal and your teammate's goal is to get your own arm down to the table as many times as you can in 30 seconds. Your goal, teammates' goal, own arm down as many times as you can in 30 seconds. Everybody has flag. I can see all of you on board. Get set. Go! They start knocking on the huts. And one of the doors opens and they quickly assess this guy will fit the available Laker outfit. And so they're like telling him to come out, and they're dressing him up in the blue pants, and they tell me he should kiss his children goodbye because they're gonna all come do this little thing together. And bless this guy's heart, he's never heard of adventure racing, he doesn't know these people. He can't speak a word of French, they can't speak a word of English. He has never used a map, never used a compass, never used climbing gear, never been in a boat, and he's never ridden a bicycle in his whole life. And he's lining up to start line up the toughest race on earth with a team with whom he can't even communicate. It's a crazy story about ownership because you see his passion. Right off the start line, he says, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I can do this for the team. Passionate about the mission and the teamwork. And then they further inspired him by realizing what his unique strength and talent is, which is what? Knowing exactly where he's going. So they put him right out in front and made him the leader. Right off the start line, who's the most important guy on the team. And there was such ownership there on both of their parts, and such great preparation on both of their parts, that they ended up creating an incredible outcome. You're not going to believe it.
The start of the race is moments away, and suddenly Team Intersport has solved its problem. They've convinced a local villager to replace their injured teammates. Intersport heads for the starting line with Dawat Lutang, a 35-year-old farmer and father of 3. Dawat has never rafted, never canoed, or even ridden a bike, but they have no other choice.
I'm constantly trying to work it with a team.
For some reason, both American teams fail to take advantage of Dawat's local knowledge.
One word? Yeah. One word? Not this way.
Others do it the easy way. They wait for Intersport and their native newcomer, Dawat. They know he's been to the top of Mount Moving many times. Up ahead, the front teams have reached the river. Intersport has fallen from 2nd place to 9th, and they don't expect to make up any time in this leg. Remember, Dawat has never ridden in a canoe. Further ahead, Dawat and his teammates close in on checkpoint 13. Not only did he survive the canoe ride, but now, at the age of 35, Dawat has learned to ride the bike for the first time in his life.
Oh yeah, I have been informed once, and actually this was my fault because they have been showing me how to handle the bike. But after I kicked me out from the pedal.
Incredibly, Dawat's team covered the 50-mile mountain bike lane in just 20 hours. Just an hour behind, in 2nd place, Intersport. Dawat prepared for this final leg. And like the canoe and bike ride before, he has never been inside a cave, never repelled, never used climbing gear. It is almost midnight, day 4. The battle for 2nd place is over. Dawat and Team Intersport have hung on. They finished just 4 hours behind 1st place Salmon. Dawat Lutang's incredible journey is complete. Over the past 4 days, he's traveled parts of his native country he has never seen. He has been tested far beyond his will. Now, he's a hero. Not because he came in 2nd, not because he finished the race, but because he was willing to try.
So many things to learn. I mean, it's really fun things. When I get back home, probably, if I saw a criminal village, probably people won't believe that something so fantastic that we did there. And really amazing. And
We remember this for a long, long time.
yeah, I won't forget it.
How crazy is that? Second place out of 63 teams. And I know there's 63 teams because we were 63rd. But I love Dawat. I love his story so much. It's such a great example of being a winner. That sometimes being a great winner isn't even necessarily based on what you know going into a job or a project. Sometimes it's based on what you're willing to learn along the way. And when you have a great team around you, you can take all that stress off of you because you don't have to know how to handle everything. You know that together with the great team you have around you in this room and the resources you have at Liberty, you can handle anything, no matter what comes your way. All right, the last essential element of this extreme performance is kinetic leadership. Meaning leadership that constantly flows and changes from a couple different perspectives. Changing leaders as well as changing leadership styles. Now you guys know this. There's a difference between management and leadership, right? As a manager, you're always the facilitator of all your teammates' success. But you don't always have to be the leader. The best managers realize that part of their job is to create other great leaders. And they let those leaders emerge based on their strengths, not necessarily their titles. And then changing leadership styles. These 6 different leadership styles are based on a Harvard Business Review study called Leadership That Gets Results, written by Daniel Goleman. He wrote Emotional Intelligence. And he did a 3,000 manager study, looked at their leadership behaviors, their effect on the corporate climate, and then their effect on bottom line business unit profitability. And what he discovered blew my mind, that your leadership behaviors and the styles that you live in the most are literally responsible for 30% of your profitability. 30%. Way too much to ignore. And the yada 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 on the article was that you should change leadership styles like a golfer changes his clubs. Use the right leadership style for the shot. That's why I have lead like Tiger on there, even though maybe for a little while he wasn't the best role model. But you do have to admit, both Tiger and his ex-wife know just the right club to use for the job. Try to do, don't get different way to it. All right, so what are these 6 leadership styles and when to use them? A pace-setting leader gets out in front and says, I know the way you guys follow me. Authoritative is the visionary leader. I can see the finish line, but I don't have all the answers. I need everybody's help to get there. Affiliative leads by friendship. Coaching, great, we have new people on the team. Coercive, I'm the boss applesauce. And democratic, self-explanatory. What do you think is the #1 leadership style to live in the most, or styles, for your business unit's profitability? It's interesting. I'll go to the end and tell you what it's not. Well, Tarantino it. I'll tell you the end first. So what do you think one of the leadership styles is not for business unit success? Coercive, right. No one wants to be told what to do all day. But the other one is really interesting. The other style to live in the least, pace setting. Now a lot of people think, well, I gotta lead by example, which you do have to do sometimes. But if you always live in that role where you're the big dog and it's kind of about you and everyone's sort of lined up in your shadow, people are uninspired. They don't have that same entrepreneurial spirit that you need them to have in this business. So the people that work with you, let them walk beside you as colleagues sometimes. Let them lead you. That's the way to create the best entrepreneurial spirit in your teammates. #1 style to live in the most was the visionary. I can see the finish line, gang. I don't have all the answers. I need everybody's help to get there. Followed very closely by affiliative, coaching, and democratic. So if you live in those 4 the most, that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck as a leader. All right, last clip. My very favorite, the Japanese team in the Eco Challenge. Day 5 of this race, they realized a woman on their team had ripped her Achilles tendon. And they decided to see a challenge instead of a roadblock. And wait till you see this extreme performance. It'll blow your mind.
In the early afternoon on the 7th day of the race, just after the winners had crossed the finish line, the members of Japan's Team East Wind received some disheartening news. Despite Naoko Hayama's ankle injury, Team East Wind from Japan attempts the rigorous 13-hour hike over Barton Ferry.
You're going to believe this. Team East Wind taking turns carrying their female teammate up Arnold Frere. No lie, over.
We have a proverb in Japanese that says, once you fall, you are closer to death, but not yet dead. So I think this was a test for us to never give up, even under the toughest of odds.
Team East Wind are the epitome of what Eco Challenge really stands for. Most people couldn't even walk over Mount Barton Frere. For them to carry that woman over that entire mountain, it's incredible.
How awesome is that? the day after that aired. And I said, "You're so glad that wasn't me." I mean, she fit in a backpack. What are the chances? But I really do love the fact that they have her on their shoulders. Because it's such an incredible statement about leadership, right? That you don't achieve a greater height when you stand on somebody else's back. You achieve a much greater height as a leader when you put your teammates on your shoulders. We don't inspire the people around us by getting out in front of them and showing them how awesome we are. We inspire the people around us by putting them on our shoulders and showing them how amazing and talented, useful, and worthy they are. I mean, as a leader and as a winner, if you set out to inspire the people around you versus impress them, you can achieve both of those things at the same time. So now you guys have all kinds of adventure races ahead for you, right? Woo-hoo. And just like an adventure race, you know what your finish lines are. But how you get there, and if you continue to get there, it's not only up to you, it's also up to you as a great inspirational leader and teammate, and a person that really can create that human synergy. And it's not only going to take a great team, it's also going to take a hell of a lot of courage, which I know everybody in this room has. Daring to do mighty things. I love this quote by Taylor Roosevelt about courage. That it's far better to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checked by failure, than to take rank with those poor souls who neither enjoy nor suffer much in the great twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. Love it. I mean, every single day we have a decision to make, right? Do we kind of live in that great twilight and symbolically get on the merry-go-round and do the things we've always done and get the things we've always gotten? Or do we say, you know what, guys, let's go on the roller coaster this year, this day, this week, this month. Let's go big. Let's challenge ourselves, which is how you guys got here, right? You decided to go big this year. You know, knowing that when you get on that roller coaster, there's going to be some highs, but there's going to be some dips, and you're going to learn something. And you're going to go even higher the next year. You guys know on those days that you really challenge yourself and your teammates, and you go to bed at night and say, you know what? I amazed and inspired myself today. I'm awesome. And guess who your most important teammate is? That would be you. So how do we avoid the great twilight? 2 things we can do right now. One of the best ways to avoid great twilight? Setting huge, hairy, audacious, ludicrous goals. And I know you guys have a big, big, big professional goal. Not only for Liberty as a whole, but for your own business. You probably have a lot of those professional goals, right? But tonight, I want you guys to set one personal goal. Can you do that? One personal goal that you're going to achieve this year. And by this time tomorrow, you have to tell 3 people what it is. That's the key to the whole thing. You can't stay in your own head. You gotta tell 3 people what it is. Can you guys do that? Yeah. All right. And the second way we can avoid great twilight is continuing to always connect to each other, to have the best of the best continue to connect. We can do that eventually.